Hello.
Hello. Hi,
Can
how
you
are you
hear
doing?
me?
I can. Can you hear
Great.
me?
I can. I can. You sound great. All
Wonderful.
right. Excellent. So good to see you. It's early in the morning for me, so I have my
Right.
trusty cup of coffee right here.
Lovely. I've just had dinner, so
Oh, well, good on you. So good to hear from you. And I'm so pleased that we're able to connect to talk about this film. And just so you know, I'm Ariel Baska, and I'm
right.
here kind of representing two entities in one. I have a podcast, Ride the Omnibus podcast, but I also represent a women's horror collective called Ghouls Magazine. We officially launched February 20th, but you
Nice.
know,
That's cool.
yeah, yeah. So we're kind of interesting. So I have some kind of social justice-y questions because that's where my Ride the Omnibus podcast is parked at the beginning, just kind of
Okay.
based on your snark related to poverty tourism at the beginning of your film. So is it okay if I comment on that snark because I kind of love
Yeah.
it?
Yep. No, go for it.
Yeah, so I just wondered because you're very explicit about talking about kind of the performative nature of reality in this film that's not just about alien invasion, it's about everything that people keep on the surface rather than
Mm.
dealing with the hidden natures of identity and reality. And I love that it works on so many different levels, but I also love that you have this hipster couple that are, or as we would say in America, a hipster couple. I don't know
Yeah.
if you have that
No,
phrase in
we would say
Australia.
that too. Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, to use things like the photograph of them in Mombasa,
Yeah.
like what made you want to use things like that to specifically call out their behaviors?
um, we wanted to establish that they were just the worst. We wanted to write we like writing characters. Tyler Jacob Jones, who is my writing partner, and I we like characters that you kind of love to hate, and we wanted to put someone through their paces and try and make them a better person through all the trials and tribulations they go through, and just the idea of that very hipster couple, um, trying to keep up appearances with their friends, like it's a competition, trying to adult the most, trying to be that Instagram perfect life kind of dream home owning couple, um, is just the kind of frustrating people that we love to make fun of. so so that's kind of where the idea started. It was to have a dinner party with just people that you just don't want to be around, and then kill them all off,
Yeah.
basically.
No, it's wonderful as a concept because yeah, you're right there with them as they're being killed off. You're like, yeah. And
Yeah.
I wondered though, because those ensemble sequences are so well shot and they're very long and they're very complex in, how the actors have to work with each other, how the camera has to interact with them.
Hmm.
How many takes did you guys have to use in order to create the comic timing as it
Well,
is?
um, I was fortunate enough to be working with a bunch of great improv actors, um, that I do a comedy show with on every weekend here in Perth. They're kind of like an improv comedy troupe, and they all have, one or two of them aren't from that group, but the majority of them all have been acting and working together for such a long time that they're very in sync. and they just kind of instinctively got the tone of the script. And when we came to shooting that, this it's kind of the turning point of the film where it sort of changes from sort of farcical comedy into the more sci-fi horror. Um, we wanted to try and make that transition as smooth as possible by just letting it all play out, kind of like a play. And um, I set aside just a day to rehearse it, um, and then an evening to shoot it, and we did 6 takes in total. Um,
Wow.
the camera, I was operating the gimbal, and it screwed up once or twice. Um, but yeah, we had like, I think we had probably 4 usable takes out of them, and I just chose the last one. Um, and after that, I couldn't hold the gimbal anymore. So like, okay, we're done for tonight. Go to bed. But it was also out of necessity as well, because we had shot this dinner table scene, um, 2 nights before, and it took 2 whole nights to shoot it because there was 6 characters, 7 characters around
7,
a
yeah.
dinner table, and there was so much coverage. There was so many angles and things that I needed to get looks from certain people at the right time, and it was such a complicated thing to figure out that I realized if I did that for the next scene as well, we literally wouldn't have time in the schedule to shoot the whole film. So it was kind of out of necessity that we kind of smashed through that scene and just got it all, in a big long sprint. And the actors were game, and they rose to the challenge, and they were on the ball, and learning their lines all that morning, and then just rehearsing it in the afternoon, and then we shot in the evening, and that was the
Um,
whole day. Yeah,
it's a brilliant little set piece. I mean, I have to say, like, I really enjoy it from, and hearing you say that there are all, improv artists as well, like, definitely rings true based on what that would require. So I applaud you for that.
yeah.
Like,
There,
yeah.
I think I lucked out that a lot of my friends are just quite talented actors, and they were
Yeah.
willing to jump onto this movie, give up 2 weeks of their life in the holidays, and make a movie for free because we didn't have any money.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. And it's such a, wonderful thing to be able to write a script and come up with all of these ideas around, exactly what you wanted your vision to be, and to be able to rally the forces to actually get it made. I think that's very difficult for a lot of filmmakers.
Oh, definitely. Tyler Jacob Jones, my writing partner, and we've been writing together for about a decade, and we started off trying to plan a movie, and we ended up getting asked to do a musical for a theater company, just a community theater show. They had someone drop out, a whole season drop out, and they needed something to fill a gap. So we wrote a musical, and then we found ourselves writing musicals for the last 10 years and doing fringe shows, and doing theater. And it's been really fun and rewarding. And we've met so many great people, and so many good contacts. But film was always our first love, and we've been trying to get back to it for so long. But like each project kind of just led to the next one and led to the next one, and we're like, oh, just kind of getting further and further away. So what we found with the theater stuff is that we would never get anything made unless we had a deadline and we had like people waiting to see it. Tickets were being bought. Otherwise, we would never, be bothered actually sitting down and writing and doing all the hard work. So I thought, it's been a decade and we still haven't made a film. Like, we wanted to see if we can make a film. I'm just gonna have to give us a deadline. So we had been talking about ideas for films for the whole time we've known each other, and in the end, I just went on a location scout, and went around to a bunch of farms the countryside here, and ended up finding the house that we shot in, which was owned by a family friend, and I was able to rent it in the holidays, and that was 6 months away. The end of year holidays. I found it in June or July, and so I just put a deposit down and said, "Can I book this house for 2 weeks in January at the start of the year?" And suddenly we had a deadline, and so we're like, "All right, now let's sit down and write a script. Let's go. We've got our deadline now. We've got our location." And the great thing was we had taken a whole bunch of photos, so we knew the layout of the house. We knew what the surrounds were. We knew there was a lake there and there was a hill there. And we're like, okay, we can use all of these elements. This is what we've got to shoot. We'll cast this many people, and let's just write to that. And that's what we did. And
Wow.
yeah, we kind of like crammed it all together
That is
within
such
6 months.
that is such a unique way to approach the script writing process. I think that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
it was pretty crazy, pretty grueling, but like because we didn't actually we talked once we had the location, we talked about it at great length, more and more and more and more, um, and we outlined a couple of different ideas and different versions of the idea that could work there. We didn't actually start typing up an actual script until October, and we were shooting in January. So that was quite nerve wracking, and it took until um, mid-November before we had the first draft of a script, and then it was a crazy mad scramble because unlike theatre, you don't just put on a hat and say you're an old woman and then put on another hat
Mhm.
and say
Yeah.
say now I'm the baker. Like you actually need props and costumes, and you need all of the things to be there at the time that you need them. You can't just mime things like we do in theater. So like
Although
that
you
was
do
a
have
big learning
some
curve.
miming in the film, which I appreciated.
We certainly do.
And I thought that was quite a bit of fun, actually. And so I wondered about the theater connection there as
Yeah,
well.
it's yeah. No, I think it is quite a. I don't know if the musical theater love comes through in the film, but it's certainly like an influence. It's like the comedic stylings is kind of that's our bread and butter. That's what we've been doing. So it's probably rubbed off onto this film in unexpected ways. I'm very sure.
Oh, it has, but at the same time, like I love your horror vocabulary, the way that it comes across as well. And it's so unexpected the way that it kind of seeps into because it does kind of feel almost like a musical. Like you're expecting people to break out into song at any time and you know but then you have these creepy scenes that suddenly you don't know what lurks around the corner or and I just wondered, where did you
Yeah,
get
we
your
we
horror
we structured it
vocabulary from?
in acts. Oh, we've been watching horror films since very early on. It just basically our film school was watching every film we could possibly get our hands on. Tyler is a huge lover of 80s slasher films, and he knows the most obscure films that I've never even heard of. And my love is, uh, yeah, I love body horror, and I love psychological thrillers a lot as well. So we kind of just we were like, this might be the only film we ever get to make. Let's just cram in everything that we want to see in a film and make a film that is just going to entertain us. And if it entertains us, hopefully it'll entertain someone else as well. Someone else will have this weird niche crossroad of all these different reference points that hopefully will be appreciated.
No, it's fantastic. And I also was thinking about the editing process too, because so much of that horror vocabulary is so much translated through the editing process as well. So I wondered how that went.
Well, I work as an editor in
Mhm.
a post-production company, and that's what I've been doing for the past decade as a job, and doing music videos and commercials and shorts and things like that. And I've always, in my own work, tried to gravitate towards the more kind of cartoonishly paced, uh, quick, fun editing style. And I don't always get to do it at work. So yeah, I wanted to do something that would have been fun for me to work on, because I knew it was just going to be me and my laptop trying to piece this all together, um, over the course of like, it took almost a year, because there was a good like 3 or 4 months where I just was so frustrated with it. I couldn't even look at the footage anymore. Everyone gets to that point at some stage, and then you come back to it, and then you go, "Oh, it's not so bad. I'll keep going." And eventually got it finished, thanks to COVID and being forced to just sit in front of it and get it done. Um, but yeah, that kind of uh, that kind of editing is very rhythmic. It feels very musical to me, and I wrote the music as well. So there were certain sequences that I didn't even edit until I had written the music, so that I could edit to the beats of music,
Mhm.
and put together that certain like montages and sequences
Yeah.
that that I wanted to feel quite musical. I guess
Yeah.
quite not cheesy, but like light and fluffy, like a rom com,
Yeah.
just to juxtapose the kind of crazy horror that's going on underneath.
That connection comes through very clearly. And I love the way that you're also constantly looking at what's sort of secretly underneath everything too within the film, and within the way that you structure the film, not just through the editing or the music or the performances, but also through the writing as well. You know, having a narrator who you start out really hating, and it's actually Daisy who's the more reliable narrator, even though we're following Liz's experience. And so going with sort of an inverse storytelling structure where the alcoholic is the truth teller, and we
Hmm.
we we know that we can trust her experience, even though nobody around her does. I think that was really an interesting device.
Yeah, well, Tyler, um, is like me. We go and see a lot of local theatre here, and when we're making theatre, we always think about the audience first. It's We're making something for an audience, and being from the writing onwards, being conscious of where do they presume it's going to go, where can we take it where it's unexpected but still satisfying, or like throw in a left turn somewhere that they weren't expecting, um, but that makes sense still. Still feels cohesive, like it's
Mhm.
intentional, not just throwing in curveballs for the sake of it,
Mhm.
and keeping the audience on their toes, making sure that just as you're starting to settle into, get a grip on what's going on, that that's when you change things up. That's when you introduce something else, um, just to make it a fun thing to watch
Yeah.
from the get go. And hopefully, there's enough in there that, if you do end up watching it again, you'll pick up on some fun little things that are in there
Well,
at
this
the
was
start.
yeah. For me, this was my second viewing, so because I think I
Right,
watched it at Fright Fest or Night Stream, one of those earlier on, and then I watched the screener that you sent me, and I
right.
just picking up on a lot of things the second time was such a treat. So
there's quite a few things we threw in there that hopefully, if you're really eagle-eyed, you'll pick up, or the second time through you'll go, that's it's all there from the start. Like
yeah,
everything's there.
yeah. And it's quite lovely. And I also wondered, in terms of the making of the film, so how did the idea of the, Stepford farmer emerge? Like, I love that line.
That's good. Tyler will be glad to hear that, because he struggles with that line. He thinks it's a little bit too pretentious and on the nose.
Oh no. Oh
But,
no. It
but I
just
think it's
made me
good.
so happy. It made me so happy.
I'm glad to hear it. So we have this horrible reality TV show in Australia called Farmer Wants a Wife, and it is it is literally a show of outback farmers that are bachelors, and it's a like reality show of them. It's kind of like a shitty Outback, The Bachelor, and something about uh, I don't know, just the Stepford Wives thing is very just the whole keeping up appearances,
Yeah.
trying to be the perfect wife when that's not really who she is. And this character had a personality beforehand, before she got pulled into this friend group that she thought made her better, but is really making her miserable. And Daisy is the only one that can see through this charade. Um, so yeah, that's just one of Tyler's witty lines. He writes things like that when he's on fire.
Yeah, but it gets to the kind of heart of the script, and I think it's actually very fitting because, I mean, you do comment on things like sexual assault and women not believing women and, certain other aspects of sort of the experience that is within the Stepford Wives and, as a film. I just thought that was an interesting thing to, I mean, obviously, like, alien invasion, you're gonna, you know, go there.
Well,
But
that was the other thing that we wanted to do was, um, we my friends and I, we all went to a screening of 10 Cloverfield Lane, and we absolutely fell in love with that film.
mm,
And just thinking about doing a small film with a small amount of characters, and what what is going to be a satisfying journey for a central character, what is going to make the audience feel um, empowered by the end of it, um, and films like 10 Cloverfield Lane, like most films with a final girl that
yeah,
gets put through a ringer and finds the strength from within and comes through and is ready to kick some ass at the end of it. That's kind of like 80s slasher horror standard, really.
yeah,
And that idea of not necessarily even feminist empowerment, but just empowerment in general, and standing up for yourself, and, and just not having to give in to what other people think, and just being confident in being yourself. That's the main message that we wanted to get across here. And it's something that we wanted to carry on through not just the human characters, but also the alien characters as well.
yeah, yeah.
That there's a hierarchy there, as that's the
Hmm.
same kind of social hierarchy um, as the humans, where they're also dealing with this in a strange way. We kind of wanted all of the characters to be trying to uh, put on a face, put on a personality,
Hmm.
to try and impress someone else. That's kind of what was going on. That's why one of the reasons why the film is called An Ideal Host. It's
Yeah.
about putting on this mask and presenting a version of yourself that's maybe not your true self. I guess where Tyler and I are both gay, and it's we have gay characters in the film, even though they're not exactly like, we're not commenting on we're not making any kind of specific comment about being gay or anything. But that's something that I guess we deal with a lot. That it's just always there in the back of your mind
Yeah.
about the idea of who you are as a person, and then who you show yourself to the world, whether it's through social media or whether it's through how you behave with certain people and how you behave with other people,
Hmm.
in work and friend groups and
Yeah.
family. We all just have these different parts of ourselves, and it can be hard to keep them all straight. And so, yeah, being an ideal host, what does that really mean? And
Yeah.
hopefully, it's about being comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
that's probably the heaviest thing I've talked about for this film at all.
well, no, but thank you so much for sharing that, because that perspective is so important in terms of understanding kind of that idea of the suppressing of identity, because that is so much a part of the horror experience too.
Mm,
I mean, so much of horror has been about, the issue of having to constantly hide and conceal
mm.
who you really are in some
And also,
sense.
a lot of the influence, when we started writing this, we went and watched every kind of invasion and parasitical horror kind of film that you can imagine, and a lot of them also deal with that kind of McCarthyism sort of paranoia
Mhm.
about when someone else isn't what you think they are, and you can't trust them anymore. Um, so playing with that was really fun as well, because a lot of our favorite films play with paranoia, and it's always a fun thing to yeah to 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 have going on in the background to heighten some tension.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
just with
Absolutely.
doing it with characters that are so inept to deal with the situation was humorous to us. um, to get, yeah, we liked all of the tropes of these films, and we wanted to use them all, but just twist them slightly because our characters don't know anything about what they're doing. um, yeah.
And can I also just say, like, I was also immensely happy about your film because of the portrayal of the gay characters in it, because they are
Thank you.
actually real people as opposed to fucking
Right.
tropes, because that really fucking
Yeah,
annoys me.
well, yeah, that, yeah. I mean, that like, even we would admit that they're very dangerously close to being the, the token gay best friend. We've,
Yeah.
they've got a little bit enough going on to I mean, the film isn't about them, but we did want to have representation, and we did want to have we did we I, Tyler and I are both don't like
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
heavy soapboxing, you
I'm
know.
sorry. Can you go back to what you were just saying a
Oh,
minute ago? You started breaking up for a minute. Sorry.
no worries. So I was saying, Tyler and I both don't really like the heavy soapboxing um, in films, especially if a gay character is not the focus of the film, but
Mhm.
someone feels the need to point out all of these social justice things about them when it maybe doesn't fit in the film. And to us, the more empowering thing is to have gay characters just being part of the scene and being themselves and being open and fine with it, and people accepting that, and it doesn't have to be about them. It's just a part of who they are. They still have other parts of their character going on, and um, that's more like what we like to see. Um, and obviously, it's really important messages to be made about um, gay characters in film, but that's not what this film was doing, and that's not what we set out to do. So we just wanted them to just be themselves and have their relationship and not be in your face about it and not be hiding it, just being who they are and have
No.
people accept it. And it's that what they talk about in terms of like the high school bullying and stuff. That's just stuff
I
that
mean,
we
anyone can
experience. That's
experience.
stuff from our
That's
life. Yeah,
not,
exactly.
yeah.
That's it's not. Yeah, I think that's a pretty universal thing. So
It is. I didn't read that as specific to anything per se. And but what I love is that moment when, I'm sorry, I don't remember the character's name. Is it Jeremy? Um the the boyfriend says, "Whoa, we're
John,
not." I'm sorry?
John,
John, sorry, when he says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, we're not at that stage yet. We're not,
yeah,
no," and
we're not boyfriends yet. This is a
it's
first date.
totally okay that he's like that, and it's not, I
Yeah,
just love that moment because there's an acknowledgement of like actual complexities of gay relationships, and like,
yeah.
and I
It's
don't
like we're on
remember
our first date.
I don't remember like the last time I saw something that actually like acknowledged any kind of like even vague nuance like that in side supporting characters. And anyway, I'm sorry, but this is all to say I really appreciated this because the normalization of inclusion is the thing that is the
Mm,
most important, not the
yeah,
standing on a soapbox and shouting, in my opinion. This is
yeah,
something I bring up on my
yeah.
podcast a lot. So,
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, we agree, and we didn't want to make a big thing about it. Um, in Australia, well, maybe in Western Australia, I don't. So, the funding for films here is mainly through
mhm.
government grants, arts grants, things like that. And there's not a lot of money, and we don't have big studio systems here. So if you want to get money, um, to make something, you have to apply for grants or just make it on your own dime, like we did. And all of the all of the funding parameters now, and it's a great thing, include uh, compulsory diversity check boxes for cast and crew and for story, and um, it just means that we like it's a great initiative and it's a great idea. It just means that all the stories that we're telling now are very very specific stories, uh, and they all have to be message films. They
Mhm.
can't just be some kind of drama with just characters included. Like you need to be able to show, like in the application, you need to be able to show we are showing this representation and we are showing this theme and we are showing this. So yeah, we yeah we've tried applying for money before, and it takes years, and we've been already waiting for years to try and make a film. So we just kind of went on our own and went for it.
Yeah. Well, I think you've been very successful at what you've done. I mean, I'm just
Thank
saying,
you.
I really enjoyed it. I had a pretty bitchin' time, and I really want to thank you so much for being so generous with your time and with
Not at all.
everything. I mean,
It's my pleasure. I mean, it's
Oh,
my first movie, and my first movie. I'm so excited. Like, I never even expected to finish it. I even told the cast, like, this might not get done. This will probably just be a show reel piece. Like, I'll give you guys some scenes. I don't think it'll ever get finished. Because we had no idea what we were doing. It was just like, you know, 9 of us on a farm trying to put a film together. Um, so for it to actually get out into the world and make it into festivals and it's being seen by people, that is just crazy to me. So yeah, I'm lapping up all the attention I can get at the
that's
moment. It's been
wonderful.
great. Yeah, it's
What
been
what
so
has
fun.
been good about the reception so far? What have you enjoyed about that?
It's well, it's been weird because so it's my first film and it's my first film festival circuit, and it's during COVID. So I haven't. I keep hearing from everyone. The normal thing to do is to travel around to all of these festivals, and you meet people and you network and you talk about other projects and you do all this stuff face to face, and you get the immediate reaction from sitting in an audience watching your film on a big screen, and that's kind of gone. I haven't had that experience. Um, my first experience with the film was it's playing online somewhere in the world, and then I just like refreshed Twitter and Letterboxd and IMDb and was like, come on, what did they think? Well, I don't know. Was it terrible? Is it
External
good? Did they?
validation,
Yeah,
please. External validation.
exactly. Yeah, it's pathetic and wonderful, but it's yeah, it's been exciting because it's like slowly like people are talking about it, and there are some people that really love it, and they're telling their friends to watch it, and it's hard to come by at the moment because it's we don't have distribution or anything. We're just sending it out to festivals hoping people will play it. But it is getting out there, and the feedback's been wonderful. And I have virtually met a bunch of really nice people and chatted to filmmakers, doing like roundtables and doing a bunch of these kind of Q&As. So that's been really fun from my little corner of the world in Perth,
Yeah.
Western Australia, all the way across the world, just
Yeah.
like virtual touring. It's been
Yeah.
great.
It is. It's a wonderful thing that,
Mm.
everyone gets to kind of experience all over the world in a way they couldn't before right now. So,
Mm.
I know I'm definitely benefiting from being able to visit all of these different festivals in a way I would never be physically able to do so otherwise, because I have
Mm.
disabilities that mean I can't travel. I've actually been to Australia a lot. I actually lived in
Mm.
Sydney very um, as a kid and went there basically every year until I was like 22 or something. And
Wow.
I don't miss that plane trip at all.
Mm.
And I couldn't
Yeah.
make it now, but I love that I can see your film and talk to you about it because
Yeah.
it's so incredible. So,
Yeah. It's great fun. And and yeah, I just bought a pass to South by Southwest, and I'm so
yeah.
excited. I've always wanted to go, and I've always wanted to go to Austin and see something at the Draft House.
Yeah.
But my film played at a festival in Austin called Other Worlds Film Festival, which was a science fiction film festival, and all the people there were so nice, and they all promised me that they'd get me over for the festival this year if it's on in December, and I'm crossing my fingers, and
Mm.
my film won a prize there, which was some money to go towards traveling there. So I'm hoping that I can actually finally visit some of these places and watch films in other parts of the world with an
Yeah.
audience again.
Yeah, it would be wonderful,
Mm,
if like we could all travel again very soon. So,
mm,
I'll be covering South by Southwest as well, so
yeah,
I'm
I'm
looking
so
forward to
excited.
that one too. So, I just want to say thank you so much for this lovely interview, and I
My pleasure.
look forward to our audience at both Ghouls and Ride the Omnibus podcast being able to see it soon, which, talk to your theater owners, and I will do my best to spread the word. So
Thank you.